Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason back again on this Thursday. I hope it finds you well out there. So many things. Are we in trade talks? Are we not in trade talks? We had some real positive stuff out of the Treasury Secretary and the President the last 48 hours. Only for the countries that they were talking about to say, yeah, no. Matter of fact, today China said, we don't know what they're talking about. We haven't had any dialogue. And then, of course, said, hey, take these tariffs away. Japan, who was one of the, I guess, the countries we were really excited about, they came out yesterday and said, yeah, no, what they want and what we're willing to do are not going to match up, and no deal. I don't know. It's hard. We did get economic data out. We got a lot of earnings out. I don't know if you saw, Tesla was just brutally bad, but they're excited because Elon's going to do less work at Doge. But we heard from, like, Pepsi. We heard from Procter & Gamble. We heard from places like Volvo and Intel and layoffs, all of those things, and price hikes. And, I mean, Pepsi missed. I don't even remember the last time Pepsi's missed on their earnings. But the same thing, they expect higher prices coming. American, they did what all the airlines have done. All the airlines. Yeah, we're just pulling guidance. We're not even going to give any guidance. But here's the thing. I think bad news is good, right? So bad news is good because they desperately want these rate cuts to come. I'm going to tell you right now, they're coming, okay? So I've locked in now. We are going to get rate cuts, but not why people think. I think quantitative easing is going to make a huge comeback. I've been watching gold. Again, very predictable. Gold's up today. As I said yesterday, was more of a technical. Today was technical. We'll see what happens tomorrow. But I've got a real good feeling about where the gold market is going to end up this year. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And I'll say this, the other metals. You got gold, that's the primary, right? That really is the monetary metal. You have silver, which has some monetary qualities, but is an industrial metal. And then platinum, palladium, industrial metals. And the industrial metals have been, they really haven't gone, they haven't fallen this year, but they haven't gone a whole, gold, silver's still up for the year, but I expect much higher prices for the industrials because I think rate cuts are coming. And more important than the rate cuts, because that's not going to do it, it is going to be the unleashing of another round of quantitative easing. And I'll be honest with you, we will double plus what we've already done. So right now, we're at around 7 trillion. Remember, we got to about 9. We're going to be somewhere in the 14 to 20 trillion. You heard me right. Do not mess around. Get diversified and do it in a big way. Get your gold, get your silver, get your other industrial metals, and sit back and watch what happens. We got existing home sales today. I don't know that it could get any worse. Down another 5.9% month over month. It was actually worse. They revised last month to down 4.4. Now this month down 5.9. Year to date, right? How could we have done worse than last year's number? Yeah, we're worse. The weakest March going back to the financial crisis in 29, right? 2009, right? 2008, remember 2009? You couldn't give away a house, right? All of us would like to go back to 2009, right? And probably buy every house we could possibly afford. But hindsight 2020, it is not good in housing. And then jobless claims. Same number we always get. Right, the 222,000. It was a big nothing burger. You know what? I don't know if that report's broken. I don't think it is. I think it's right. I think everybody's trying to hang on here as long as they possibly can. And I think it's going to be an avalanche. It may start with Intel. I don't know. And Intel, big here in Arizona. Reports are they're going to lay off over 20,000 people. I hope that's wrong, but it doesn't look like it. Yeah. Where are these markets heading? And why do I say the biggest quantitative easing in history is coming? 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason here on this Thursday. Let's take a look here. Dow's up 300, kind of at the highs of the day. We'll see if it stays there. I think they got enough bad news across the board that they're trying to hang in there. 433 on the 10-year note. By the way, we're going to talk about bonds. How are the auctions going? Notice it's been very quiet. I'm going to tell you how they're going in just a minute. Crude oil's up a little bit, but still below $63. Gold is up. And again, we kind of knew this, right? I told you yesterday this was going to happen. Right now, up 36, 33. 25 right now on gold. Silver's off a little bit, but silver had a good couple of days here. 33.40 on silver. Platinum's unchanged at 973. Palladium up a few bucks here. As, like I said, good news is bad. But when we started looking more closely at the gold markets, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? Like, I get it, right? People are buying gold because they're worried about the dollar. They're worried about the tactics, right, with the tariffs and how's this actually going to work, and kind of weird comments. Oh, wait a minute. We want to be more like China, and we want China to be more like us, from the Treasury Secretary. Donald Trump yesterday told reporters, hey, we're talking to China. China today said, no, we're not. Right? And China said, not only no, we're not going to talk until you drop the tariff. So I don't know, right? Confusion. Here is where all of this is coming from. So we had every one of these auctions, as you guys know. A couple of days ago, it was listen to these numbers, $69 billion. That's just a 2-year auction, and look how big they are, right? this $69 billion, guess what? In 2 years from now, it's going to come due again, right? I mean, this is the problem. They in the tail that it had, right? It's not the biggest tail of all time, but it's the biggest tail. Remember, as I've educated you, tails are bad. Going back to October of last year, the bid to cover down, right, which we don't like, but really it was all about where did the buying come from. And Jason, it was the lowest foreign participation going back to the bank bailout of Silicon Valley Bank. So it was really low. This is, when we think about the different auctions, the 2-year is the easy one, right? That's yes. Why do they sell so many? Because it's the easiest one. Because that's not, in the scope of time, 2 years isn't that long, right? And, hey, they're getting 4%. Not great, but, not bad. And it's only 2 years. Here's the problem. If you went back to the indirect demand, go back, 2-3 weeks, whenever, the trade, when that thing just the floodgate opened, what was it, April 2nd, right? April Fool, right? We didn't want to do it on April Fools. And then the week after April 2nd, then it got really bad, right, with the Chinese. We are talking about 20% less foreign participation in the U.S. Treasury markets from just a couple of weeks ago. And then yesterday, we had the 5-year auction. Okay, so $70 billion, right? I mean, these numbers they're incredibly large. It was very poorly received, right? Again, the bid to cover, it was okay, right? It wasn't terrible. It had to do with the internals. And Jason, once again, who wasn't there? It was the foreigners not showing up, leaving the dealers. Now, the dealers in this auction, this 5-year auction, they like to take about 10%. I don't like, anything above 10% is a lot. They had to take down the direct had to take down 25% of the auction. The dealers still had to take down double digits, almost 13% of the auctions, which simply means that if it wasn't for the U.S. institutions, right, the foreigners, Jason, they're just not coming. And they're not coming. Listen, this isn't, okay, we're just going to buy a little less. 2, 3, 4, 5%. No, we're talking 20%. And you start doing the math, right? These last two auctions, it was like $140 billion. That was $28 billion less in treasuries going to foreigners. And Jason, this is why I'm telling people, be ready here. I think a massive quantitative easing cycle is coming, which means the Fed is going to have to lower rates at least. I think they're going to lower rates 4 times. And don't be surprised with a couple of 50 basis point cuts, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to do quantitative easing on the scale that I think they're going to have to do without lowering the rates, and they're probably going to have to do it at the same time.
Yeah, I saw. Was watching a couple of guys talking about exactly what you're talking about, Joe. And one thing I was looking at was the printing that was around the .com bubble. It's always debatable how much they actually printed, but $1 trillion to $3 trillion, and then you got around the housing crash, $5 trillion. You can go 3 to 7 or something like that, 3 to 6. We know that they've been printing way more than that. I think they've always been printing way more. And this time around, it looks like 10 trillion, just because of this is where we're at, right? Can you imagine 10 trillion, Joe? And if any of that gets leaked into the economy, because during the housing crash was interesting because they just basically saved a lot of large entities from going under.
800-951-0592, Joe and Jason, Patriot Radio News Hour here on this Thursday. We've been running platinum for the last several days. Today is it. Whatever I have when I get here tomorrow, I will unload to the wholesalers. We have the 1 gram platinum bars. They're like the size of a credit card. There's 50 detachable little gram bars in each one. They're all the bars are individually stamped. Here's what we're going to do. We've got 10 of these credit cards left. If you want 50, right? That's 50 grams, 1 credit card. It'll be $1,900, okay? If you want to buy just individual grams, here's what I've decided. You got to buy at least 10. They're $40 a piece, so $400 gets you 10 1 gram platinum bars, or you can buy the whole credit card, the whole 50, for $1,900 until either I sell out of them or come tomorrow I dump the rest back to the wholesalers. 800-951-0592. Really quickly as well, $20 gold. Right now, you got gold at $33.30. Now up 40. They're going to be $35.90, and here's the problem. We open here today. We open tomorrow at this price, and I think we're actually going to close higher. So get ready. But we're going to be back above $3,600, Jason. I can't help it, right? These low premiums that we kept talking about. They're still really good. But Jason, demand is starting to come back, and when we're seeing it here at Patriot, right? People are starting to call, people are starting to buy, and I'm telling you, I can't, I don't know. I don't see the view. I don't guarantee you anything. My base scenario is we will have rate cuts and quantitative easing in less than 90 days. That's just where I think it's going to be. This is a incredibly frustrating problem, but like I said, there was no good answers here. I get what we would like. Gosh, if everybody would just do what we want, it'll be better for us. The problem is what we want these other countries to do, they know, well, that's not better for us. Right? At least not short term, that won't be better. So, no, we don't want to do. And they got the same problems. They all got the same problems. Get off your backside here and get covered here. It's coming. I'm looking at these auctions, and you are just, it's as plain as day. They're not coming. And the problem is we've got way more debt that needs to be serviced. We haven't even talked about a budget, right? The great deal. You know, Donald Trump says, I'm not going to raise taxes on the rich. Which means, in Donald Trump's eyes, letting the tax cuts expire like they were, originally were, at least on the wealthy people, that's a no-go. You know, he's probably right. I hate to say it. We're going to need every gun we've got. But by doing that, the amount of debt that has to be auctioned off, it's so hard. And we're starting to get some tariff numbers, and it looked like for the last month or so, and granted, now we're not a full month into all the tariffs, we may get $15 billion out of it. Now, here's the problem, is some of that people were ordering ahead to beat the tariff. So are we going to end up with less buying afterwards? Probably. But I'll take the $15 billion. Unfortunately, Jason, the problem is it's probably going to put even more pressure on these companies. I mean, listen, all the airlines that pulled guidance, Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, Coke, Kimberly-Clark, they're all saying the same thing. Sales are down. And guess what? Prices got to go higher. It's not a real good mix. And I think small businesses are teetering here.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of them, and it just looks more bleak and worse and getting worse. The behavior of small business people seems to be getting a little panicky, Joe, because Joe hasn't talked about it in a while because, Trump won, November, so you had a lot of hopium, right, Joe? You had a lot of excitement. Oh, the economy's going to get better. Well, I think the nuts and bolts of small business, here we are, November, December, January, February, March. We're 6 months. We're finishing up 6 months here. And some of this stuff isn't looking too good. So hold on tight. And the kind of inflation and prices that are going up, talk about printing $10 trillion to float the bond market. These things are, if you have assets, especially gold and silver, hold on tight if you can. If you got it and this is the way to float through this next economic emergency, then bring it in, sell it to us. Joe and I will buy your gold and silver.
Yep.
We'll buy. Because what you're doing is protecting yourself. This is why you bought it. And then we take it and we sell it to our customers and get them taken care of. So it's a win-win. And if you don't like the sound of a platinum credit card, because that's kind of a fun way to say it, it's a sheet. It's a thin sheet of platinum. If you don't like the term credit card, because I think some of our guys, Joe, they don't like the idea of debt, and credit card it puts up a red flag. It's not a credit card. It's not a platinum credit card. It's not the Patriot platinum credit card.
You're right. It's about the size of the credit card, correct. Right? Yeah.
But this is platinum, man, and this is platinum at a great price, by the way. So jump on, right, Joe? 800-951-0592.
When we get back, I'm going to tell you what China said about the trade talks. 800-951-0592. Gold's up 40, 3,330. We got $20 gold last day here. Assuming we're going to close here or probably higher and see what we do tomorrow. $20 gold pieces. 3,590, 3,590. And then we've got the 1 gram platinum bars. It's the size of a credit card, not a credit card. But if you bought 50, they come in a pack. It's a pack, and there's 50 in there. If you buy the whole pack, $1,900. Otherwise, we'll break the pack open. We'll get you 10 individual 1-gram bars for $400 at 800-951-0592. Before we get to China really quickly, Jack in the Box. Here we go. Is this the start? I don't know. They're going to close 200 locations. They're calling it the new plan, the Jack on Track plan, saying that they're going to dump 200 underperforming locations. And then news out of Rite Aid. This may be it. This may be the final song for Rite Aid. They are in talks with bankruptcy lenders again. And this time, I guess, would be the last time we'll keep our eyes on it. So yesterday, a lot of confusion. The Treasury Secretary talked real nice about, man, we can make a great deal with China. That was the headline. And then when you read what he said, I was like, boy, that's asking a lot. That's a tough pill for China to handle. And then the president said to the press, oh, no, we're talking with China. Yeah, we're talking. Last night, China said, we don't know what they're talking about. We have had no talks with the United States, and saying that before engaging in trade talks, the United States needs to remove the unilateral tariffs. The U.S. should respond to rational voices in the international community and within its own borders, and thoroughly remove all unilateral tariffs imposed on China if they really want to solve the problem. Reports on development and talks are groundless. The Washington needs to, quote, show sincerity if both sides are going to want the deal, and rhetoric coming from the Trump administration about deal talks is fake news. So, Jason, and again, take it for what it's worth, but according to China, there's been no talks, and there's not going to be any talks until the United States drops these tariffs, which I don't see that happening either.
Yeah, it really looks like supply lines are going to get disrupted as this thing grinds on, Joe. It's because the manufacturers are just not going to be able to make the money. You know, if the end result is you can't get into the other country without it being profitable, or that you're not going to have sales on the other side, then you're just going to stop and wait. Because once again, you said this weeks ago. Is this permanent? Is it temporary? And if it's not unknown how long the tariffs are going to be, then you really are in kind of a wait and see situation, because you don't want to make, like you said, you don't want to maybe try to manufacture or do something in country to mitigate costs if it's not going to come to fruition, right, Joe? Is it, and that, to me, the rhetoric has been anything but permanent, right, Joe? None of this sounds like it's permanent, does it? It sure sounds like it's a lot of smoke to cover something else that's going on. And I think what we talked about, what you brought to the air about the $10 trillion in printing that's coming, they kind of want to, they're going to have to admit to it, but I don't think they want that to be the story that people talk about.
I don't think the auto tariffs are going away, especially after what I heard from Japan. Some clarity now that they're saying that the message yesterday was missed, and that people, quote, in the room said the media did not capture the president's real message. Right, so the word is, Trump's backing down, and Donald doesn't like that. The message was, we're not backing down, but we believe China will eventually see that it has to move first. So here you go, Jason, right? So I guess it's going to be, right, hey, we're both going to suffer, but you're going to cry uncle before I cry uncle, and let's just see how long that takes.
That's the bluster that we've been seeing is it's going to hurt anybody that's in trade war or tariff situations. And, who's going to win? Well, we know who's going to win. It's going to be those that produce, and the end result loser is going to be the consumer who's actually going to pay for it. It's funny. I've been watching this thing, Joe, and China doesn't have, a big list of billionaires. America does, and it seems like a lot of this is. I think a lot of this is really the billionaires versus China. Because China is like its own billionaire. But we have all these billionaires in America that are almost like their own small little Chinas, and they're all kind of beating each other around trying to figure out what the cut of the pie is, right?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. The billionaires have made a lot of money because of China. Let's not forget that either. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday, and it's kind of one of those mixed bags as we've got poor economic data and poor earnings on top of, well, you know what? Let's just say what it's been, which is really it's been a lack of clarity. We really don't know, and we keep waiting for all of these things, and I love the TV, Donald Trump is, it's the art, he's the best deal maker in history. I'm not saying that he doesn't make good deals, but Donald Trump's had just as, like any businessman, right? Plenty of hits and plenty of misses, but this is on a much grander scale. I think at the end of the day, the real issue here has always been and always will be debt. And we've got a lot of it. And let's face it, we've been in a pattern where other countries have been diversifying away from the dollar. And it's reached the point now where something has to give. And I think, Jason, here's where we're going to be in the next 90 days. Rate cuts and quantitative easing at a scale that I think most people will be shocked by. You'll hear Donald Trump place this problem on the hands of the central bank, right? Saying, well, I told these guys, right, they needed to lower rates before, and this is why we're in the mess. And again, it won't be Donald Trump didn't create this. The Federal Reserve didn't create this all in a vacuum. Listen, this has been 40 years of really bad pricing. Right? I mean, that's really what this is all about. 40 years of really bad policy when it comes to the central bank and our government just deciding that we could borrow money forever.
Well, let me break it down to very basic. Everything is happening that will benefit those that run a worldwide economic system. The only thing that has to happen is...
The rich get richer.
Well, let's, John, in the very basic sense of it is the system gains on the backs of the citizens. So is Donald Trump making a deal or failing to make a deal? No, he's an actor. Remember, he was an actor. You understand, he was in movies. And he is a deal maker, and being a deal maker is also about bluffing or pushing a strong position. So just like WWF, you have the actors... They get a little physical. It's more than just acting with the WWF. They actually are physical guys. But in the end, it's a story being told. And why does a story have to be told? Because the citizens have to be convinced that the people that make the decisions have your best interests at heart. And most people on some level think, well, my guy is going to help me out, or that guy is going to help me out, or it'll be okay in the end, and they just let it happen. So, Joe, I don't think the system is having a problem. The Fed, the bankers, these countries, they're getting exactly what they want out of this. It's working perfectly. It's just going to keep happening until somebody figures it out and actually cares about the average guy. And unfortunately, 13 billionaires in the administration shows you exactly what's going on. China and the billionaires are concocting something that's going to work, Joe.